Hey people, welcome back to math class. I am still not there, and that's okay. Um, Hopefully I'm gonna be there Wednesday. We'll see what happens. But we got some more notes to take. So we're continuing with our topic 3 notes. So, yesterday we were talking about identifying functions and whether we could tell if, a table or a map or a set of points or a graph was a function or not. Now we're going to talk about two different kinds of functions, okay? Specifically, we're going to talk about the discrete functions today. We'll save continuous for when I come back. All right, so discrete is a type of function. Functions are discrete if the values are distinct, separate, and can be counted. So basically, if we see numbers, like we could point out that, oh, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. If you could point out numbers, that means it's discrete, okay? So if it's presented in a table, a map, as points, or if they are points on a graph, that means it's going to be discrete because we can literally count the numbers that are included, okay? So, if we can tell it's discrete, then we could find the domain and range. And when I say domain, I mean those inputs. And when I say range, I mean outputs. All right. So just like we were talking about yesterday, inputs and outputs, or we also said X values and Y values, this is going to be the same idea, okay? The domain is your X values or your inputs, and your range is going to be your outputs or your Y values, okay? So, it says to find the domain and range. Both the domain and range will be a list of values between curly brackets. Okay, so we're literally just writing down a list of numbers that are in our domain and our range. But we're going to be really careful and make sure to put those in curly brackets like this. That's what I mean by curly brackets. So not like parentheses or like regular brackets. We want them to be curly brackets. That's just specifically a math way to show that you're showing a list of things and not like a coordinate or something like that, okay? So, another way that you might see these is if they're typed out. So they might look like, oops, not like that. Like this. These are curly brackets, okay? So when I draw them, they're very inconsistent because I'm hand drawing it. But this over here is going to be the typed version of it, okay? But either way, I'm trying to say that when you write out your list of numbers, they do have to be between two curly brackets, okay? So let's do a couple examples together and see what I mean, okay? So I have a table here. Here I have my X values. Thank you, cars from the street outside my house. You're very loud. Anyway, X values and Y values. Like I said, these are your inputs and these are your outputs, just like we've seen in the past or on our last set of notes, okay? So my domain is going to be my X values, just like we said above. These are my X values. Our range is going to be this set down here, okay? So just like it said over here, they will be a list of values in curly brackets. So I'm just going to do my curly brackets as best as I can. I know they look a little funky, but I'm trying my best. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4 in my domain. And I'm going to close it with another set of curly brackets. And that's all I have to do. I'm basically just saying, here are my inputs and here are my outputs. One is called the domain and one is called the range. So for the range, again, I'm going to take my curly brackets as best as I can draw them. And I have my y values going into this list. So that's 5, 10, 15, and 20. So here is my domain. I got that from this list over here. And here is my range. I got that from this list over here. All right, your domain is going to be your x values. Your range is going to be your y values, or your inputs and outputs. All right. Okay. Let's try and find the domain and range on the next one. Domain is going to be our inputs again. So that's this side, or our x values. Our range is going to be our outputs, or our y values. Okay. So for my domain, I'm going to start again with my curly brackets, and I'm literally just going to list all of the numbers that are in my domain. That was negative 3, 1, 4, and 6. And I'm going to end with more curly brackets. Okay, and then we need our range. Again, I'm going to start with curly brackets and then make a list of all of the numbers that are in my range, which is 9.5, negative 0.5, negative 8, and negative 13. Oops. And then I'm going to end with curly brackets again. Oh my goodness, these look horrible. I'm trying my best, y'all. There we go. Okay, so again, it's just a list of what you already have. There are no calculations involved here. You are just listing out the numbers that they give you. Okay, let's do the next one. Our domain and our range. Again, the domain is going to be our x values. The range is our y's. So this is a set of coordinates that we need to think about now. So if I want my domain to be my x values, I'm going to highlight all of my x values. I got negative 2, 0, 2, and 3. Again, I want my domain to be all my x's. X's come first in all of these, so that's why I highlighted all of those. We want our y values to be our domain, so your y's come second. So I'm going to highlight all of those for my range. 8, 2, negative 4, negative 7. Okay. So now that we got all those, I'm going to list them with my curly brackets. I have my x values coming first. That's going to be negative 2, 0, 2, and 3. Because those are all the ones that I highlighted in pink. Those are my domain. For my range is highlighted in green. Again, those are my y values. So I've got 8, 2, negative 4, and negative 7. All right. Domain and range, my x values and my y values. Okay, great. The last one is in a graph. So this graph has individual points on it, and those individual points are telling me that this is going to be a discrete function. So again, I want my domain to just be a list of numbers, and I want my range to be a list of numbers, starting with curly brackets. The only thing is here is we don't know exactly where those are, right? All of these others examples literally just gave us a list of the numbers that we needed. Not this one, though. That's okay, though, because we could definitely find out what our numbers are. Thinking about our domain, those are going to be our x values, right? Looking at my graph here, I know my x's are all going to be on this line here. So what I'm going to do is try and find out where all my dots are on that line. I'm going to start with the first one that's over here. I'm looking at it. Here's my dot. I'm going to see where it is on that line. That's at negative 2. So I'm going to write in a -2 in my domain. I'm going to go to the next dot, do the same thing. Here's my dot. I'm going to go down. That's right on the origin. So there's no number there. That means I'm going to put a 0 for my next one. Here's my third dot. I'm going to go down. That's at 2. So I'm going to put a 2. Next dot, I'm at 4. Next dot, I'm at 6. So I'm going to put a 6. So I found my domain by looking at where all of my dots would fall on my x-axis, okay? So domain is going to be your x's, range is going to be your y's. So let me do some highlighting here. My range is going to be my y values. Remember, your y-axis is the one that goes up and down. So now to find my domain, I'm going to try and figure out what the y values are for my dots. So going the opposite way, instead of going up and down, instead of looking at that side-to-side axis, now I'm looking at the up and down one. Okay, so here's my dot. I'm looking to see where it falls on that green highlighted line. That's at number 2. So I'm going to put a 2 in my range. Let's see. The next one is at, it looks like 3, even though there's not a number there. It's between 2 and 4, so it has to be 3. Looking at the next one, we have 4. Then we have the next guy that's at, I don't see a number there, but it's between 4 and 6, so it has to be a 5. And then I'm looking at my last one. I have this one at 6. Okay. If this last example was a little confusing to you, don't worry too much. We're not really going to work with these types of problems, but I still wanted to show it to you just so that we know what it looks like. We could recognize that that is a discrete function. I mostly want you to focus on these 3 that we did up here, okay? So these are all discrete functions because we can count the numbers that are in our function. We can find their domain by looking at the x values or their inputs. We can find the range by looking at their y values or their outputs. All right? That's the idea. You're making a list of those numbers and then you're done. Okay? So I want to practice this today by doing a GimKit game, which hopefully is set up for y'all. But yeah, you're basically just going to go through the questions, tell me what the domain is or the range is, or tell me if it's a function or discrete or continuous, whatever it's asking you for. That's what you're going to do. All right. So, I hope this went okay for y'all. Again, we're going to finish this, when I come back. We're going to do the continuous side. But yeah, so that is discrete functions. I hope y'all have a good rest of your day, and I'll hopefully see you soon. Bye.